Hello everybody, welcome to Eric Perkins Artist. I am Eric Perkins. In this video, I will be reviewing the Blick Studio Artist Colored Pencils 24 pack, and I'll be demonstrating those colored pencils while I create my illustration of the Kodiak Bear, which was also the title image for this video. As part of my review process, I wanted to test out the characteristics of these colored pencils made by Dick Blick, and so we're going to talk about their transparency. As you color gently with them, your color is semi-transparent, allowing the white or other whatever paper color you have to show through. And as you lay them down more thickly or harder, they become more opaque. And this also allows us to change the value of the color. By laying down the color very lightly and semi-transparent, you get a lighter value than you do when you lay them down very hard and make them more opaque. So I demonstrated that with the dark green, going from a very light semi-transparent dark green all the way to a fairly hard and opaque dark green. Next up, you can somewhat change the hue of your colors, usually by blending. So when you lay one color over another, you might still be able to identify the two colors that are there, but you will also kind of have a mixed color, which is something a little bit different. And I demonstrated that first with, I believe that was pea green and dark green, to create a green in the middle, which is kind of like a dark grass green. That particular color is not actually in the set, although there is a grass green. It's actually lighter than that. Next, I did the same thing using dark yellow and violet, which creates sort of a brownish color, although you can still pick out the violet and the yellow in that color. It's a mixed color. Lastly, I wanted to show you an actual blend, going from vermilion to yellow, and so I tried to make this gradient as soft as possible, going back and forth with the yellow and the vermilion until you could barely see the transition from one color to another. Now, the next characteristic I wanted to talk about is white. So white colored pencil does not actually color white. I mean, it does, but you can't really see it very well. So in this first box, the X that is in this box was created with white before I colored anything. By laying that white in really hard in that X pattern, I'm able to create an area where the pigment of another color will not color smoothly or as well as it will in the other areas. And then I demonstrated that from the right side to the left side, coloring very dark to very light, so you can kind of see how that white pigment allows the color to kind of smear or blend over it, and also still reveals whatever you drew in white. Now in the next box, I'm doing sort of a transition from my light blue to my violet, and so in the adjacent corners, I have colored very darkly and let them kind of come together very lightly in the center. And I also took my white and used it to try to blend those colors together and carry some of the pigment from one side to the other. And so you do see a little bit of a white or light colored fade in there near the edge of the violet, and a little bit in the light blue. The white will carry your pigment just a little bit. It doesn't go very far, but it can do some things. Which takes us to the next box, the pink box. In this box, what I did was colored in half the box with pink, doing it fairly lightly, and I also colored in little circular motions because I then took my white and tried to carry that pink as far as I could away from that edge. And as you can see, it does give me sort of a light pink color up in that top left corner, as if it's blurring that pigment out, carrying it with the white. But then also in the bottom right corner, I am using a blending stump trying to carry that pigment that way, just to see if I could blend anything with the blending stump. I didn't actually do that particular method in the demonstration drawing that follows, but I wanted to test it out just to see what it would do. And the final 3 boxes are demonstrating the erasability of the colored pencils. They are semi-erasable, but even when you erase, you're still going to have some color that has been ground into the paper. So they're not what we would say is 100% erasable, but you can at least lighten a color and then color over it, maybe save some areas if you use the wrong color. It is good to know that you can do some erasing if you need to. And to test this out, I used my kneadable rubber eraser on the left side of each of these boxes. I used my vinyl eraser in the center, and then I used my electric eraser on the far right side of each of the boxes. Those are all attributes to keep in mind when you're working with your colored pencils. Before I began the drawing, I did create the color reference chart that you see here, and this reference chart serves 2 purposes. Number 1, it lets me see all the colors as they actually appear on paper, and it helps me to choose colors later on. When I want to work with these colored pencils again, I have this chart hanging on my wall that I can reference. I would say overall I am very happy with this set of colored pencils. I believe the 24 pack runs you just under $20. One of the benefits of using one of these higher quality colored pencil sets is that you can usually buy individual colors instead of having to buy a whole new set just to replace the one. The tools I used in this drawing include an H pencil, a vinyl or plastic eraser, a kneadable rubber eraser. I also used my electric eraser. Now, let's get right into the drawing. As I began the drawing, I noticed right away I was going to run into a little bit of an issue, as I'm at the back of the sketchbook and I'm right up against the spine or the binding of the book, and so I'm getting some folding and just height gap issues there. So I created a border around the drawing, which keeps me from going all the way to the edge and helps to limit how much I need to work in that gap area. Now, of course, this would not be an issue at all if I just removed the paper from the book, but I want to leave this sketch in there. So I worked around it. Once the border was done, I started laying in colors, and I'm scrolling a list of all the colors that I used in this drawing. I used about, I believe it was 14 colors out of the 24 set. So there are about 10 colors in here that I've not actually used in this drawing. But this was also not the first time I've ever used this colored pencil set. And you can definitely tell that by looking at my light blue, which is almost just a nub at this point, from whatever I did with it before this. Prior to the filming, I looked up some reference videos on YouTube of Kodiak Bears, so I have an idea of what the bears actually look like, and used those videos to quickly sketch out my drawing. I think the whole sketch probably took about 30 minutes to maybe an hour, and then I brought the sketch drawing over to my table where I could actually record my work. Now, laying in the colors, I started with violet, as I knew that I wanted to use a dark color to help accentuate the shadows and the outlines of the bear and other areas, but I didn't want to go with black because black kind of flattens the image. So using the violet, I was able to lay in some fairly dark values, and then as I was coloring in everything else, using like dark brown and brown, I would add more violet as needed to, like, especially in the bear, I would add the violet and the dark brown to try to create some color even in the shadow areas. In the end, I did use some black, not very much, but for the darkest areas to create a very clean transition from one form to another, I would use black in those areas. And again, I used white in like almost all the clouds and the what do you call it, all the fog, and also in the snow of the mountain, trying to kind of carry some of the color into it and separate the mountain from the clouds themselves. Thank you for watching my video, and thank you especially to all of my patrons who help to support my art habit. You can become a patron by joining me at patreon.com/EricNMIPerkins. I do hope you'll give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share the video with your friends. And I do want to remind everyone that I am on Etsy and Fiverr and other social media platforms where you can purchase my artwork or hire me to do a specific drawing for you. The links for everything that I do are in the video description. Thank you once again. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.